Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a Q&A. I'm basically going to be giving you guys the who, what, when, where, how of homeschooling. So I'm going to be talking about how long it takes us to homeschool, what kind of homeschoolers there are, how do you even start homeschooling, like what do I do, like what level do I teach my kids at, you know, where do I find curriculum, where, like, can I teach all my kids at the same time? Does it take as long to school that it does to like when you go to regular school? What is the difference? Do I have to, you know, go by the school calendar? Do I have to turn grades in to the state? Do I have to keep record of what I'm teaching them? Like what do I do? How do I do it? Help me. Those are the kind of questions I'm answering today. If you guys have any curiosity about homeschooling and you have any of those questions in mind, just go ahead and keep on watching. Oh, and by the way, I'm doing my makeup while I'm talking about this, so I'm gonna look a little different in the next slide. Okay, I just wanted to let you know. So I'm gonna start out with, you know, how, who, when, where, why, you know, kind of thing. So just to kind of get a general overview, a lifestyle that homeschooling, you know, kind of is, okay? So who, you know, you, the parent, your partner, any other adults that in your life might want to, you know, help with homeschooling, even if it's, you know, reading to them or taking them on field trips or, you know, showing them maybe, you know, things that they're interested in. If you have family members that are in a field that your kids are interested in, you can have them, you know, take them to go see their job and give them tours and, you know, stuff like that. So there's endless possibilities of who, you know, can school your kids. So but obviously it's going to be most likely the parents, and also you can get tutors. You know, you can also do half, you know, homeschooling, half online schooling. I know some people do that. That's basically who you choose depending on the time you have and the resources you have available to you. So what is homeschooling? Homeschooling is schooling from home, schooling that is not in the conventional, you know, public school system, right? When do you school? Do you school the same amount of time that it takes to school at a regular school? Absolutely not. Obviously, it depends on how many children you have, what needs they have, what levels they're at, you know, all of that. You know, it does not take 7 hours to school. At a traditional school, you gotta wait for all the kids to arrive. So school starts at a certain time, and then once the kids are there, you know, you gotta take attendance and you gotta go around and put your snacks in the bin and you gotta put up your backpacks, and then you gotta, you know, see the schedule for the day, start with your morning work, then you move on to this, and then there's an issue, the teacher's on the phone, then next thing you know, oh, it's time to go to art, everybody stop what they're doing, you know, it's a lot. In public school, there's a lot going on because there are a lot of kids, and you have to have some sort of order because there are a lot of kids, you know, and everyone is needing to be doing the same things at their own time that they have to do them, and you can't give kids that much freedom because then everybody's gonna want it and then there's gonna be chaos. So kids in public schools, it's really hard for them. Some kids, it's really hard for them, you know, because kids are not meant to just follow orders, you know, for 7 to 8 hours a day. So it can be difficult for some kids. Well, that's why public school takes so long. They made it this way, you know, so we could work and our kids could go to school, and that's just how they wanted to keep us, you know. So it's kind of, you know, it's not just a coincidence, you know, it was purposefully done this way. So no, it does not take 7, not even half of that time to school your kids. You also don't have to follow the public school calendar. You don't have to have summers off just because that's what your school district has. You don't have to have Christmas off when they have off. You don't have to go back to school when they go back to school. You literally make your own schedule, during the day. During the week, you could school 3-4 days out of the week. We school 4 days. You know, you don't have to do 5 days a week just because the school does. So you can literally cater your schedule to what's convenient for you and your lifestyle and your family. You could school every day if you wanted to, you know, definitely depends on what you consider schooling, you know, but I mean, kids are learning every day, all the time. How many times do you answer your kids' questions? That's the easiest way to school your kids, is literally just answer their questions and like roll with that. So the why, definitely lots of whys for lots of different families. I'll just speak on our personal views quickly. It's basically because it provides us with a lot more time with our kids. They have more time to focus on activities and things that they enjoy doing rather than things that they are required to do, you know, because they're at school. Like if they were in school, our kids do boxing, they do gymnastics, they play the keyboard, they enjoy math and reading, and they get to do those things pretty much every single day. Art, they get to draw and enjoy, you know, just being a kid. So there's not a ton of structure as far as like, you know, them being on a schedule. Like at school, you know, they would have to be at a, you know, doing certain things at certain times. They don't get that much time outside anymore in schools. So we try to prioritize, and then everything else kind of goes around it. Also, we have screen time, you know, at certain times of the day, free time at certain times of the day. Hi, editing me here. Something I totally forgot to say. Also love that we can incorporate life skills into our everyday life. Like the kids know how to make meals, they know how to make certain snacks and things like that. They know how to clean up and put things away, where things go, how to do their laundry, how to put their clothes away, and all these things have been slowly, you know, happening with practice. And, you know, obviously they're not perfect, they're 6 and 7 still, but I feel like for the average 6 and 7-year-old, you know, you don't really want to put that on them, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they go to school all day, they're tired, you know, this and this, and you don't really think about showing them how to do that stuff until they're a little older. But because we're home and I can start with, you know, at age level, you know, chores. You know, obviously they're not sweeping and mopping and like doing any of that, but they have basic chores that they know how to do every day. And I have a whole video on that, how we kind of incorporate screen time with chores. But every day they have to clean up their room, their bathroom, and, you know, their stuff. They're responsible for that. But every day they have 2 chores that they are responsible for throughout the day, specifically before they can have screen time. And also, if we're cleaning as a family, it's easier to be like, hey, can you guys go do your zones, help me out, you know, making dinner, go do your zones real quick, blah blah blah. Again, I like go into more detail in this video here. I'll put it in the cards if you guys want to check that out, but that's more specifically for school days, because I don't want them to like wake up, turn on the TV. Like when we don't have school, it's honestly not, I don't mind. Right now it's like 8 in the morning and they're playing the Nintendo on the TV. It's Saturday, I'm editing, like, you know, so it's not a big deal, but it's just their normal, you know. So did want to kind of say that, you know, especially in high school, things like home ec and life skills have been like, you know, taken away. They don't really do that with kids anymore. So yeah, that's a big plus for us, that we have more time to teach them how to be, you know, fully functional adults in the future, you know. So we do have a loose like schedule, but it's nothing, you know, too crazy where we're following it to the T every day. You can also, you know, choose what your kids are learning about, you know, what they're interested in, you know, and go at the pace that you feel comfortable, your learner is comfortable. And the how do you homeschool? Do you have to, you know, kind of follow everything that schools follow? Do you have to, you know, turn paperwork in? Do you have to keep grades? Do you have to, what do you do? So that is where you go to your state, you Google your state and the homeschool laws in your state. It varies between states. So I am in Arizona. They basically don't give up about what you're doing because you literally don't have to provide them anything besides just a little notarized note that says you homeschool, and that's it. You're not required to keep grades or attendance or anything like that. So yeah, if you're in a lenient state, good for you. If not, there are states that you have to, you know, keep records, you know, and I'm sure the state has someone that reaches out to you and, you know, you kind of work it out. Other states just has you send attendance, or it varies by state. So definitely look up your state to see yours. But here, literally, we could do whatever and they don't care. So that's good in some ways and not good in other ways, for sure. Okay, and then some of the big questions that I get often are, you know, how long does it take? Like I said earlier, it definitely does not take 7 to 8 hours to school. For us, on average, we can usually get school done in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's with a first grader and a second grader. And I say 2 hours, depending if we have like an activity or maybe a longer read aloud or something like that. But if I'm just like, hey, I'm not feeling it today, guys, like let's just do quick school, like, you know, because you can do that, you know, because you can do what you want. You know, let's just do math today, let's do our read aloud, blah, blah, blah. I can get school done in about an hour and a half. If I take my time and we look things up and we print things out, if we take breaks, if we do brain breaks, if there's like snack breaks, if we have some tantrums, whatever, 3 hours max. Sometimes the toddler needs extra attention and, you know, we just kind of play it by ear. But yeah, I would say anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. But then also, there are days I'm just not feeling it. I'm like, you know what? I have all this laundry. Let's just let's just read today. And, you know, we'll pick it back up on Sunday, on Saturday, or we just won't pick it up at all, you know, kind of thing. Well, let me add to that is that we do a lot of subjects family style. So the only things that they do separately are math and language arts, and like they're reading, but I feel like I consider that language arts. We do science, geography, all our read alouds, we do our Spanish, we do our morning work, all of that is together. So that I definitely made that decision for time wise, you know, obviously, like, you know, it's kind of unrealistic to really, you know, want to carve out that much time in the day to do separate lessons for kids that are 1 grade apart. But we definitely enjoy doing it family style, being able to all talk and collaborate and read together. So yeah, for now, like sometimes I even do language arts together depending on what it is. But right now, currently, we're doing language arts and math separately. So those are the only ones where I kind of bounce back and forth between them. And then the last question that I get too is like, how do I know what to teach them? How do I know if they're at their level, or like, what do I get? What do I order, you know? And I had the privilege of not having kids coming from public school. I never pulled my kids out of school. They're fresh out the womb, homeschool babies. So I don't know really, like personal experience, I don't know too much about that side of things, but I would assume that you would be able to get their transcript, or even just get an email, talk with their teacher about kind of where they're at. I'm sure you've had parent-teacher conferences, stuff like that. Or even if you just express to the teacher like, hey, you know, I want to help them more at home, or I want to, if you want to tell them you are looking into homeschooling, that's your choice too. But I would assume that the teacher would help you out with that to let you know where they're at. And I would feel that that would be important for the core subjects, more like math and language arts. And reading, you know, but as far as the other subjects like geography or science or history or art or anything like that, those are the more fun ones because you can really see what your kid likes. So I would definitely check with the teacher if you are pulling your kids out of school to homeschool them. Also, when you look into curriculums, you definitely want to be mindful that there are curriculums that are more religious and Christian based. That's where homeschooling, I feel like, kind of is the most, like, you know, stereotyped, is, you know, the religious church goers. But if you are not interested in that kind of homeschool curriculum, I would definitely be mindful of looking up a secular curriculum that is the non-religious, you know, kind of curriculum. Aside from that, the curriculums, most of them have levels, and a lot of them, you know, try to mark them as levels instead of grades, just because you could be using a certain level in math and a different level in language arts. For me, I'm teaching them at their respected, like, math level. And then for language arts, this upcoming year, we're going to be doing Torchlight. And when I go on the website, you can go to where it just gives you information on, like, how to choose a curriculum. And it says on there to go by the grade of your youngest learner. And each level is a range. It's like, oh, this is good for 1st through 3rd or 2nd through 4th or whatever. The websites can also, you know, help with that, figuring out what level to have your kids at. So again, I would say try to go by their level or their grade for the, like, language arts, reading, and math. But everything else, I would definitely look into their interests, like whatever they're good at, or whatever they, you know, find joy in, and then look for something that can fit, you know, there. I know it's not for everyone. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone wants to do it. But I just hope that, you know, we can take away the stigma of homeschool now, because I feel like public school is just so outdated. I've seen so many families that have so many different dynamics for homeschooling and different situations, parents that work from home and parents that have special needs kids, and how their kids have thrived in, you know, homeschooling. They've had more time for their therapies. I've seen abroad families, you know, families that have their own businesses, or have, you know, their business and they run their business from home, and, you know, so many different scenarios. So, you know, if you've been wanting to homeschool, if you've been interested in homeschooling and you just feel like it would take so much time, I encourage you to just keep, you know, looking into it and keeping an open mind, because just because someone does something a certain way doesn't mean that you have to do it that way, you know. And, you know, of course, we got lots of questions, lots of kind of confused looks, and, you know, every year certain people expected us to put the kids in school. I do know that doing something out of the ordinary, out of the norm, you know, I was not homeschooled, neither was my husband. I don't think we know anyone that was homeschooled, really. You know, I found hope in seeing other people online on YouTube, blogs, you know, that talked about being homeschoolers, which made me feel not so alone. Yeah, it's just, it can definitely be a scary thing to do, but I feel like, you know, I want to do what's best for our kids, our family. Oh, and another thing, I am a teacher. I have my teaching license here in the state of Arizona, but you do not have to be a teacher, I don't think, in any state to be able to homeschool your kids. You can, I literally don't know everything, okay? So that's where curriculum comes in, and books, and learning things that you probably were not taught in public school either, you know, because public school is not, you know, pumping out geniuses, as we know, especially in Arizona. So we need to acknowledge those things, you know, those very real things, and think like, yeah, I can do this, you know, kind of thing. So yes, to me it's a little bit fun because I did go to school for this. I do have experience working in schools prior to having the kids and all this stuff, but you do not need to have background. So a little drive, a little motivation, and you can do it. You can school your kids for sure. Okay, so I hope this was insightful. I hope this was, you know, beneficial, helpful in some way to someone. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!